Thank you very much for having me. By way of introduction, this is me. Also, I'm not a biologist, not a doctor by training, so I will be mentioning some practices in this presentation. This is not a recommendation. I will be covering more on that. Actually, formerly, I'm a corporate finance guy, so I was a CFO of the biggest outsourcing company in Central Eastern Europe called Intercom. We sold it to a bank 5 years ago. Before that, I started Biodata. Biodata is a diagnostics company. You will very soon understand why I started a diagnostics company. So, which brings me to the life sciences and to the biohacking industry. And a couple of words about my experiment. That is correct. You heard correctly. I'm, for the past 8 years, or almost 9 years, in December it will be 9 years, I'm doing tests on a regular basis. I track 1,300 parameters of my body, mostly biochemical parameters over this time frame, but of course I do not track each of them on the monthly basis. Some of them I track on annual basis, some of them I track on monthly basis, now more like on quarterly basis. So I will be covering the reasons for this also in this story, but also by another small episode to introduce me better to you. I want to explain how I ended up actually in biohacking and quantified self industry. So this is of course a tomato growing in a greenhouse. So in Russia, I'm from Russia, we have very severe winters, so we grow tomatoes in greenhouses. And as a small boy, when I was like 10 or maybe 11 years old, I was very sad when in autumn all the tomatoes were taken and like thrown away. They couldn't live longer. So I decided to extend the lifespan of one of them and took it home. I was doing that for the next 4 years, so therefore I prolonged the life of my first model organism at that age. And only recently I actually learned that tomatoes, well, normally live for many years because they can actually live for many years. This is, they are like prone for longevity. And at that point, I was very satisfied with this achievement. I really decided that I prolonged the life of that tomato. But anyway, that was kind of a success. Okay, let's get to the presentation. This is my representation of biohacking as a concept. So it's definitely something about evidence-based research, evidence-based technology to extend your abilities. So otherwise, if you were not looking to extend your abilities, that probably will be healthcare or something else. And you probably noticed from the previous talks that biohacking is also about measuring objective biomarkers, and it's all about proving the effect of whatever you are doing. Because if you are not trying to prove, then it's kind of non-existent. So, as a former finance guy, I usually also have a habit of relying on data. So my job usually was to create key performance indicators of a company. And that was the idea for me. How do I create a key performance indicators panel for a human body? You can understand from my previous talk that I was very interested in biology and living organisms as a hobby. So I decided as a hobby to create a panel, like a passport for my body. Every system, every organ should have a passport. So this passport is some data I can collect about it. You won't be seeing this part probably, but it just says 1,300 biomarkers. This is what it takes to take it in one take. It's like 28 tubes, like 29, 28 tubes of blood, but not only blood, also urine, of course, feces, maybe saliva, some other biological liquids. I do not usually take that much. This is taken by a client. And I usually take, as I said, like 15 tubes in a row. It's actually not that difficult to achieve this number of measurements, because if you take a complete blood count, you already have like 22 biomarkers. So if you start taking biochemical tests, if you take hormones, if you take microbiome, if you take some nutrition tolerance test, you will be very soon eventually arriving at somewhere around 800 biomarkers. A regular person who doesn't take medical tests often, just any one of you who thinks he's a regular person, would probably have around 250 biomarkers in his medical archive. So if you take your medical documents, you try to analyze how many biomarkers you took in your life, that will be the same. Also, not all biomarkers are created equal. So, of course, about 1/3, 30% of this part of this data is sort of say hard evidence medical biomarkers. This is something which is totally accepted by the doctors and used in everyday practice by the doctors in broad perspective. Another third of these biomarkers will be something which is used contextually by specialists, like, for example, endocrinologists may know a lot about different hormones and fractions of hormones, and he will be using these biomarkers, but generally another expert, another specialist will not be using those biomarkers. So that gives us about 800. And the rest are, sort of say, I would say prospective biomarkers, which we have some science about them. They maybe will be used in the clinics later, and I'm including them in my panel to accumulate this data and track it in dynamics and compare it with more well-known and accepted biomarkers to understand whether I can reproduce the research which is done by the academics. Also, you can understand from this example that it doesn't make any sense to make any fancy scientific biomarkers without having the base. Because if you don't have the basic understanding of your health, if you don't have a regular medical information about yourself, you will not be able to understand the scientific fancy biomarkers. Also, I will give you an example later in this presentation. I want to also cover here the question why I took my test monthly at some point. Well, actually, I was experimenting a lot with the supplements, and to isolate the effect of each supplement I add, I had to take blood tests quite often. So otherwise, if I took like blood tests in like once in 4 months, my experiment will go much slower. So I had to add supplements, check the results, then put them away, and see if without the supplements the biomarkers get back to the previous state and so on. So it was just a lot of analytical work. So this is how it started. I started with putting everything in Excel. It's one of the best tools for managing data, and very soon it became very troublesome to operate with the data in Excel. So I was working further on creating the instrument which is now becoming Biodata, my company. So this is basically a tool for managing data. That's how I ended up in a diagnostics industry. Let's make a next step. So once you got some data on yourself, you will probably be interested to do some tests and do some interventions. Yeah, this is indeed my box where I store all my supplements, but these are the only one I take. So these are the reserves. And here you can see a list of whatever I take. If you look carefully, you will understand this is just nutraceutical supplements. It's nothing really fancy or complicated. This is the current list, and just a year ago, I abandoned all the supplements for like half a year. I didn't take any supplements. And then I started adding the supplements back again with doing a little bit research every time again. So I was kind of reiterating, rethinking whether I need, how many supplements I need to take. And that process, unfortunately, again brought me to around 25 supplements. So I was considering any one of them, whether I should or should not add them back. And from my individual information which I possess about myself, I decided to add them back. That's how I ended up with the same stack which I used to take before. Anyway, although we are discussing some supplements here, I would also confirm that this is not a recommendation to take all this stuff, although even some of them are more like common between the three speakers which I saw, because these are anyway based on my individual blood tests and individual even genetic traits which I have, so this is not really a recommendation to do that. And through my deep testing of my body, I was identifying different weak points. And these numbers are just weak points. Some of them may be deficiency of the vitamins. Some of them may be some medical conditions. So this is what a regular person would have if he takes goes through a lot of medical examinations. So basically there are no healthy people, there are undiagnosed people. And therefore, this is not representing that my health was in poor condition. I was actually feeling very well. And I was more or less surprised to find that there are so many weak points, conditions which can be diagnosed like prematurely. And this also, one more thing here, there could be false diagnostics. If you are taking more data, this gray area is something that I falsely assumed to be wrong. And then, as more data accumulated, these weak points were proved as false diagnostics, and I removed them. You can notice also that by the fourth year of my experiment, I had knowledge of 43 weak points, and I only added like 10 more points since then. So this is of course natural, because if you start collecting data, you learn a lot about yourself from the very beginning, but every next step brings you less additional information. So the most precious, the most informative part of the journey is the first part of the journey, when you start collecting your data. Then you can only add a little bit of data step by step, and it does not change really dramatically. I use these colors to show that some of the weak points are under control, right, like dark blue. Some of them are not under control even now, although I am doing a lot, and not only supplements, but still some points are out of control, so to say. Okay, I want to speak a little bit, by the way, who is this woman? Who knows? This is Jean-Louis Kalman, of course. She's the oldest woman in the world, I mean, the oldest recorded centenarian, who died at the age of 122 plus years. She's told to quit smoking when she was 101, because she couldn't see how to lit up the cigarette, and she didn't want to ask other people to help lit up the cigarette. That's why she quit smoking. And she is French, and she died in the 1987. I was already 4 years old. I'm 40 years old, by the way. So I saw the Soviet times. And since then, we didn't have anyone living longer than she, which raises a big question. So maybe there is a threshold, maybe there is a limit to the human longevity. So maybe we will not be able to live more than she lived, because there's been around 40 years, almost 35 years since she died, and we didn't have another record broken. Well, there is another research actually to this point, that we will be having first people surpassing this limit by 2050. So right now we are accumulating a critical number of people born in later years, who are living more healthier lives. So maybe one of us will be able to surpass this limit, hopefully. Okay. Let's consider a few insights, because I don't want to go deep into biology and all the scientific stuff of this experiment. We have another room for everyone who wants to go deep science. I want to share a few simple takeaways, but I want to prove it with what I learned personally in my experiment. We concentrate a lot on supplements here, and like everyone is showing his stack, and probably the best biohacker is the one who has the biggest number of supplements, maybe that's one way to count. I don't think so. Because here I want to show you two periods in my life. So the blue line is glucose. The yellow line is indicated hemoglobin. I will help to interpret for you. They are normal all throughout this period. This is my data. They are normal all throughout this like a year and a half. The red line is insulin though. And here, insulin reaches the critical level where I'm becoming not insulin resistant, but I'm hitting the risk zone measured by insulin resistance index, HOMA index. And what is happening? Why these two periods are so different here? Why I was gradually deteriorating here? I was taking all my supplements. I was also taking metformin here. What is happening here? This is, I was just going to the gym, me going to the gym for the first time, and it was like once a week. So I also went to the gym. I didn't go to the gym because I felt bad or because I was gaining weight. Nothing like that happened. My weight was stable. I was taking supplements. I was feeling okay. But through my observations, monthly testing, I realized that I'm getting more and more insulin resistant. When I previously tried, like in my previous years, tried to go to the gym, I was never able to maintain my practice of going to the gym because it's very boring. And I was not happy at all with the gym practice and doing sports. That's why I quit. I was quitting going to the gym every time I tried. But this time I had a clear understanding that even one time per week was enough to bring me back like 10 years in my biological age, so to say, if you look at insulin here solely. This is also important because when we are doing some, implementing some healthy lifestyle habits, you may not subjectively feel immediately any better. So you will not be feeling better. You will not be understanding that something is changing at all. This may demotivate you, but if you have data on you, you can understand easily that even that small change in lifestyle is more important than like a dozen of supplements you take. So why didn't I actually quit taking supplements after that? I view the supplements more like a doping, more like an enhancer for your lifestyle. When you lie on the sofa, when you don't do sports, taking supplements will not be able to replace physical exercise. At least, well, exercise mimetics are in the making with the pharma companies, but they are not yet here. So far, the consensus states that you need to exercise, and you cannot replace exercise with any mimetics, any pharma. So therefore, but if you do exercise, if you do eat healthy food, then supplements can complement whatever nutraceuticals you lack in your diet and whatever physical endurance, physical parameters you want to achieve. You will achieve them in a better way and sooner. So this will make your sports practice more efficient. That's my first point. So lifestyle comes first. Okay. Another question that I was thinking on is whether we can give one-fit-all advice on the diet. Because diet is one of the most contradictory maybe topic in biohacking, in lifestyle management, in healthcare. So there are a lot of diets, a lot of advice on this stuff, and they are mutually exclusive. So you cannot follow most of them simultaneously. This is just an illustration. This is a test for food intolerance. I will use it to explain my principles, which I think will be principles which fit all. Well, I use the principle of 3 filters in my nutrition. First filter, first principle, is that you should not eat food which is obviously bad. I mean, refined sugar, processed meat, no dietologist, no nutritionist will ever tell you, please eat more sugar. So this food like trans fats, for example, These are really bad, and there is a great consensus that you should not be taking these foods. They are cancerogenic, or they may be promoting obesity, diabetes, inflammation. So this is absolutely clear for everyone. This is something you can tell anyone. Another principle, second filter, is that you, along all the healthy food which is left, if you take away bad food, among all the healthy food, you should not eat something which is bad for you personally. This may be food allergy. This is why I'm presenting this picture here. As you can see, I'm intolerant to salmon. So salmon is basically considered to be healthy fish, healthy food. But I really do not take salmon, do not eat eggs, do not eat dairy products, milk, because I'm either intolerant or well, allergic to some of these components. So you need to determine which food is good for you. I will not be going into debates of food intolerance here, because this is a very debatable question whether this is applicable. But I can answer that question after the talk if you want. Then the third principle, which probably will fit all, is that we should not eat too much. We should adhere to calorie restriction in the manner which can be recommended to us by our doctor and which is suitable to our lifestyle, so to say. We can psychologically accept it, acceptable for us. So some people may find it very practical to follow calorie restriction, like 80% of your regular calories per day. I find it totally impractical, so I cannot ensure that I will be eating 80% and calculating calories every day. So I can't do that. Some people can do that. I'm adhering to the 16-8 intermittent fasting. This is one of the most practical regimes for me, but if I had any issues with my bile bladder, with my intestine, with my stomach, I would have contraindications for this regime and would not be able to take it. So this is why it is important to take it to the doctor. Also, some people maybe like to adhere to several days fasting regimes. This is also maybe contraindicated if there is a thyroid disease or some other gastrointestinal disease. So you should basically restrict your calories, but this should be always consulted with the doctor and looked through the prism of your bio. Okay, I want to conclude by still speculation on why I'm doing this experiment, why probably you are doing this experiment. Let's compare our motivation. So, as you saw, blood tests do not give you 100% guarantee that you will succeed in living to 120 years or whatever. On the other hand, this is the best instrument we have. So it's better than horoscope, it's better than fortune telling. So blood tests are okay. It's something we have. It's not perfect, but it's the best thing we have. This picture is about a great physicist, Rutherford, who was given a Nobel Prize in 1906. And he also created the model of atom as we know it now. So he is the creator, the author of the modern model of the atom. And this is the first nuclear reactor, which was built in United States. As you can see, it took only 29 years from the construction of the construction of the nuclear reactor from the model of the atom, which kind of gives us the idea that if you have the model for something, we can fix or make it work the way we want. And what is the Rutherford moment for aging? The Rutherford moment for aging, I think, already passed. It was the Human Genome Project, which was technically over in 2022, but actually over in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So when in 2007 we got like 95% final results, and only in 2022 we got the final results of the Human characteristics of our species. Mice live 2 years, cats live 16 years, maybe at most. People live 90 years. Here in Shanghai, on average, as I saw, 82 years. So, to live like 200 years, we have to stop being people. We have to edit our genes, which is possible, as we saw today. And to edit our genes, we need, of course, to read them. So that has already been done. That's why I'm saying that we already have the model for aging. We just need to study it and build the controlled aging process, controlled aging technology. That is why most people believe that it would be in our lifetime, because 30 years here, maybe 40, 50 years from the Human Genome Project, we will be having controlled aging technology. So that's why I'm doing it, because we probably are the last generation who has to die. So maybe our children already don't have to die. Yeah, this is the checklist. I forgot about the checklist. So it's pretty much simple. Now you understand why I put it here. So what are the easiest steps to start your biohacking experiment? It is recover your medical records. Get whatever records you have from your past, because you need to understand what you looked like when you were young and healthy. Then get another checkup. So get some new data. Try to see if you have changed. Discuss that with the doctor. Find new information. Learn consistently. You will not be able to delegate your knowledge to the doctor. You should be also understanding your data at some level, at the level of a patient. You should be understanding your data. Monitor your lifestyle. That's the next 2 points: sleep, activity, nutrition, weight. I mentioned some products here which I like best. This is not like advertising. I do not receive any cashbacks from them. It's just something I use and I really like. Since heart disease is the most dangerous and the most, I'd say, kills most people, will kill most people in the near decades, do profound cardiovascular testing instrumentally, including a treadmill test. That's a test of your endurance while running. Well, here I think it will be even more actual. You should track your exposure to bad air, because not every cities in China have clean air. And then you can get yourself at least a clean environment at home, because you spend home anyway like maybe 8 hours while you sleep, maybe more. So if you establish a healthy environment in your home, you at least will be giving your body a little bit time to recover from aggressive environment. Now, this is over. Thank you very much for your attention, guys.
Thank you very much. 我们现在进入提问环节。我们照顾一下那边的朋友吧。这一位，对。
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the impressive speech you have given us. And I was astonished by the number of over 1,300 parameters you monitor about yourself. And I was wondering that for guys like us, we do not have much time and great accessibility to the hospital or other medical institutions like you, since you own a diagnostic company and can do the experiment very easily. So which kind of the biomarkers do you think is best for us to test and treat in our everyday life, and how often shall we do this tests? And that's my question. Thank you.
Great question. I forgot why you need to test insulin to get full picture here. Then number 3 is cancer. But cancer cannot be tested through oncomarkers, because oncomarkers are designed for people who already had cancer in the past. So what do? First of all, you should be understanding the state of your immune system. Because cancer actually is prevented effectively by our immune system. You should be understanding whether your immune system is functioning properly. And some cancers can be genetically predisposed, so that you should be taking a genetic test, like, I don't know, exactly which Chinese company may provide, because I know that 23 company is not available here, 23andMe is not available here. So you should be taking a proper genetic test to understand whether you have any genetic predisposition to some types of cancer. Well, the last thing is maybe contradictable. Number 4 reason in preventable deaths is falling, osteoporosis, degradation of your skeleton. You can take computer tomography of your bones and check if you have regular bone mass or regular bone density. Well, the thing is, I have osteopenia, although I first discovered that when I was 35, and men are not usually tested for bone density at that age. So I just know that, and I don't jump with parachute. That will be enough for a start, but given we are living in Asia, you also should be careful and should be taking markers of parasitic infections, because, many people in Asia may contract this disease, and very often this kind of disease is asymptomatic, as I stated in my talk.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else has any questions?
Can I ask you a question?
No.
You just told us you performed anti-aging program from 25. So how old you are now?
I'm 40 years old.
40 years old. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there is always debate. Some people say I look older, some people say I look younger. I say that it's achievement. Sometimes you can say it's achievement in our age to look at your age, not to look older.
Thank you. Could you suggest to make some infrastructure for all the people in the world to, like a clock that people can say where we are, and just like you test, you are 40 years old, and what energy here is maybe.
Well, first of all, there isn't infrastructure. There is Ministry of Health in every country, and there is a registered number of tests you should take every year based on your age and gender. So that's the start, right? Well, if you asking about something bigger than what is already existing, that's actually what my company builds. So we build an international network of partners to have these tests done. We are not yet available in China, but since I'm here, maybe there will be some progress here.
Okay. Please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.